This week's parsha, the parsha of Emor, is the parsha, the Torah portion of the Kohanim. All of the various particulars, details, intricate halachic guidelines that defines what a Kohen is. And sure enough, we know that some of those guidelines include that a Kohen is not allowed to impurify himself, that a Kohen has to be careful how he enters the confines of the Kodesh, that a Kohen is restricted in terms of who he is allowed to enter matrimony with, and family or familial guidelines. But there is one particular attribute of leadership with regards to a Kohen that is not revealed in the context of the Torah itself. And yet, it seems to be a pinnacle and extremely important with regards to who the Kohen is supposed to be and his leadership qualities as such. It is revealed within the context of the bracha, the blessing that the Kohen makes day in and day out here in Eretz Yisrael, certainly as he blesses the congregation as representation of Am Yisrael, the Jewish nation at large. And within the context of that bracha, the Kohen proclaims, Asher kidishanu b'kedushato shel Aharon v'tzivanu levarech et amo Yisrael be'ahava. I am assigned with demonstrating to the Jewish people kedusha, sanctification, be'ahava, vis-a-vis the means of love. And what is revealed here is a very, very important attribute, and that is that a Kohen can only bless the Jewish people and should certainly represent to the Jewish people kindness, love, compassion, understanding to the people around him. And so much so that the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, tells us that if the Kohen is in a particular congregation and there are people or even one person in that congregation that he's meant to bless that he does not see eye to eye with or that he has animosity towards, that Kohen is not allowed to go ahead and perform the blessing because it becomes nullified by the fact that the Kohen is required to give the blessing be'ahava, with love, and he cannot demonstrate that love in that context. This really knows its source, its roots, not from the Torah. There is nowhere in the book, the 5 books of Moses, where it says specifically that a Kohen has to love, but it knows its roots, its source from Aharon HaKohen, the first high priest of the Jewish people, a leader of the Jewish people, Moshe's brother, Aharon, the high priest. The Mishnah attests to the fact that we should be Hevei Mitalmidav Shel Aharon. We should be the students of Aharon. We should subscribe and embrace his mantra, which was Ohev Shalom V'Rodef Shalom. He was someone who loved people. He was someone who always pursued peace. And while this directive of love is not written explicitly, it certainly can be understood implicitly. This past week, my wife Gabby was going through our younger son's desk and cleaning it out, and she found a letter that Gila wrote to him, or part of the letter that Gila wrote to her younger brother a few months before she died. A few months before Gila died, there was a woman in the community, a wonderful woman, very special person, who unfortunately died from cancer. Her son, whose name was Dovi, is very, very good friends with our son Sruli. And a few months before Gila died, she wrote the following letter to Sruli, saying as follows. It was originally in Hebrew, but I'll skip the authenticity and I'll translate at bay. Listen carefully. I am sure that with the proper prayer and the help from your friends, that the family will understand and will eventually emerge from the pain, and they'll understand that whatever God decides to do is always for the good. I want to add something very, very important for you and your friends to understand. You and your friends have to be there for Dovi. You do not understand how much it helps to show someone and the people around you, from the people around you, that they are concerned and that they care about you and that you love him. I know about myself, my own personal experience, that I would never have been able to emerge from the pain that I experienced and the uncomfortable situations or predicaments that I found myself in without the help of my friends. So it is very, very important. I love you, and with God's help, we will only hear and know of good tidings. This is something that Gabby found on Yisrael's desk, her younger brother. Gila understood the importance of spreading love, of demonstrating to others the friendship, and that I'm there for you, and that I want to connect with you, and I'm concerned for your well-being. Tomorrow is the day of Lag BaOmer, I should say today is the day of Lag BaOmer, the evening that brings in and ushers in this day of Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer, one of the reasons why we celebrate is because it marks the end of the plague that inflicted 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva. The great Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students that fell and died in a particularly short period of time. And the Talmud attests to the fact as why did they perish? Why was this plague given and inflicted upon them? And the reason why is because lo nahagu kavod ze bazeh. They did not show respect one to another. They were not respectful, not caring, and not sensitive towards each other's needs. And for that reason, they perished. And perhaps if they had adapted the mantra of Aaron HaKohen, if they had adapted the letter that Gila wrote to her brother, perhaps history would have been scripted differently. Perhaps tragic loss could have been avoided. And nonetheless, often the most outstanding ingredients, qualities, attributes of leadership are not written in ink, but are naturally and blatantly obvious and have to be understood internally to us as a people. In a couple of words, to be able to show someone their love, to be able to demonstrate to them that you care, could make the whole difference in the world. And it's fascinating that the one word that opens the parsha, this week's Torah portion, describing the laws of the Kohen, is the word Emor. Emor means to say. But isn't it interesting that in French, me amour, or Italian, amore, also means love, my love, the love that makes the entire difference to our person and can make such a difference to the people around us. That love was expected to be and was Aaron's way. It's expected to be our way, and it was and is and remains the Gila way. Shabbat Shalom.